The distress beacon had gone silent 3 cycles ago. Commander Thane stood at the viewport of the celestial endeavor, his 4 eyes scanning the violent surface of Crater 7, the planet was classified as a Class X death world, a designation reserved for worlds so hostile that even automated probes rarely survived more than a few hours. Toxic atmosphere, predators evolved to near perfection, gravitational anomalies that could crush bone, and storms that could strip flesh from metal. And somewhere down there a human child wandered alone. "Sir, the Council advises we abandon the search," his navigator, a slender Vexian, said quietly. "They say no one survives Crater 7. Thane's mandibles clicked in frustration. "She's been down there for 3 cycles. Lyra is 8 Earth years old. We don't leave her." The Vexian's bioluminescent skin flickered with distress. "Commander, humans are resilient, but this is a death world. Even adult warriors would prep a landing shuttle," Thane interrupted. "I'm going down." The crash had been sudden. One moment, Lyra was reading in her quarters aboard the colony transport. The next, alarms screamed as the ship was torn apart by Crater 7's atmospheric storms. The escape pod had landed hard, throwing her into the dense purple vegetation of an alien jungle. When she woke, everything hurt. The pod was destroyed, half buried in mud that steamed and hissed. The air tasted wrong even through her emergency respirator, and the sounds, clicking, growling, shrieking, came from every direction. Lyra clutched her datapad, its screen cracked but still functioning. Emergency protocols scrolled across it. Stay with the crash site. Help will come. But on the second day, something massive had circled the wreckage. Something that made the ground shake with each footfall. Lyra ran. She didn't know where she was going. She only knew she had to move. That's when she found Rhynoc. The creature was small, barely larger than a house cat, covered in obsidian scales that caught the dim light filtering through the canopy. It was wounded, trapped beneath a fallen branch, whimpering in a pitch that made Lyra's chest ache. Every instinct she'd been taught aboard the ship said to run. This was a death world. Everything here killed. But Lyra saw the creature's eyes, intelligent, terrified, and she couldn't leave. She lifted the branch. The creature stared at her, then limped into the undergrowth. Lyra thought that was the end of it. She was wrong. Commander Thane's shuttle touched down near the crash site coordinates. The pod was gone, dragged away by something. But there were tracks. Small, bipedal, human, and something else. By the void. His weapons officer breathed, examining the clearing. "Commander, look at this. The area was littered with remains. Not just one creature, but dozens. Things with too many teeth, carapaces thick enough to stop plasma rounds, appendages designed for rending and tearing. All dead. All bearing wounds that were surgical in their precision. What kind of weapon could do this?" the Vexian whispered. Thane knelt beside one corpse, a Crater razorback, apex predator of the region. Its throat had been torn out with such force that vertebrae were visible. But more disturbing were the patterns. "The kills formed a trail. She's moving," Thane said, standing. "Something is clearing a path for her." Lyra didn't understand what was happening. Rhynoc, she'd named him after a character in her favorite story, had returned the morning after she freed him. Not alone. He'd brought something, a piece of fruit, purple and glistening. When Lyra hesitated, Rhynoc ate half, then pushed the rest toward her. It tasted like hope. Since then, Rhynoc hadn't left her side. When she walked, he scouted ahead. When she rested, he stood guard. And when predators came, and they always came, Rhynoc changed. The small creature would erupt into something else. His scales would bristle like blades. His body would blur with impossible speed. And the threats would simply end. Lyra had seen him take down a creature 3 times his size, moving like liquid shadow, leaving nothing but silence in his wake. She didn't understand. Rhynoc was young. She could tell by the way he sometimes stumbled, by the almost playful way he'd chirp when bringing her food. He was a baby. But babies on death worlds, Lyra was learning, were not like babies anywhere else. The trail led deeper into Crater 7's nightmare landscape. Thane's team followed the path of carnage, each kill more impressive than the last. Whatever protected the human child was methodical, intelligent, and utterly ruthless. "Movement ahead," the scanner operator called out. Thane raised his weapon, then froze. Through the toxic mist, a small figure emerged. Human, female, dirty, exhausted but alive. Lyra, and beside her, scales gleaming like dark jewels, was Rinnock. The creature was no larger than before, but Thane felt every instinct in his body scream danger. This was a juvenile apex, the most dangerous predator species in the known galaxy. Adults could tear through starship hulls. They were intelligent, territorial, and extinction-level threats to any ecosystem they inhabited. This one was a cub, and it had bonded with a human child. "Lyra," Thane called gently, lowering his weapon. "We're here to help. Come to us slowly." The girl looked at him with eyes far older than 8 years should hold. She placed a hand on Rinnock's head. The creature's eyes, black and bottomless, fixed on Thane's team. "He saved me," Lyra said simply. "He's my friend." Thane's team shifted nervously. Protocol was clear. Apex creatures were to be eliminated on sight. But the cub had protected a child across a death world. Had left a trail of remains specifically so they could find her. It had wanted them to find her. "Can he come with us?" Lyra asked, her voice small. Thane looked at the impossible creature, at the child who had survived 3 cycles on Crater 7, at the bond that should not exist between prey and predator. He thought of humanity, the species that could crash on hell worlds and somehow emerge with friends. The species that saw a wounded predator and offered help. The species that inspired loyalty in creatures that should know only violence. "Yes," Thane said, his mandibles clicking in what might have been a smile. "He can come." As they loaded into the shuttle, Rinnock never left Lyra's side, and when the Celestial Endeavor reported the rescue to the Council, they left out certain details. After all, who would believe that an apex cub had chosen to save a human child? Who would believe that on a death world designed to kill, a little girl had found not death but family? Only those who understood humanity would understand the truth. On the worst worlds in the galaxy, humans didn't just survive. They made friends.